marshfieldclinic.org/primary care.
The following is a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed on the program are solely that of Heiar Insurance, not necessarily WBEV or Good Karma Brands. Welcome in, everybody, to Taking Care of Business on a Friday. That means Senior Solutions, and of course that means we get a visit from our favorite employee over there at Heiar. I mean, mostly because, Sandy's kind of mostly totally a little bit almost retired now.
Yeah, she's hunkered down at her house right now.
So probably where a lot of people are right now. But we get you, Matt Heiar, coming in to visit us, and we always appreciate having you on the show. It's a cold one out there.
It is. I want to thank my car for getting me here and, running properly. But, yeah, I felt bad for it starting it up this morning.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. I gave it a little extra time in the driveway to warm up as I sat there in the driver's seat wondering why I don't have heated steering wheel to go along with the heated seats.
Ooh, that would be nice.
Yeah, that might be the next add-on to look into. But I imagine a lot of people on a day like today, they start thinking about, maybe that retirement idea of us being snowbirds isn't such a bad idea after all.
Oh, yes. That's got to be crossing a lot of people's heads right now. But, I mean, we had blistering cold. Not quite this cold, but, very awkwardly early this year.
We did.
In December, it was not fun. So, but for some reason, we choose to live here.
We do choose to live here. I know I had a great conversation with our meteorologist, Kara Foster, recently about how we're only officially a few weeks into winter.
Oh, why do you have to say that?
But we don't think of it that way because we think as soon as the weather turns cold and we start to see snow drop at all, it's not wintertime.
Yes, but I have to glass half full mentality, right? So we're gaining daylight.
We are gaining daylight.
I'm noticing that, and we're a little over a week away from the shortest month of the year.
Correct.
So, and then before you know it, it's Groundhog's Day, and if we get snow, it should go away pretty soon. So, yeah, it's just we gotta stay positive in moments like this. And I'm born and raised in Wisconsin, and I'm still am not used to this whatsoever.
Yeah, I think as much as people say, well, you guys chose to live there, you chose to be there. We also know that days like this don't tend to happen, a lot of them in a row.
Oh,
you
right.
Get one, maybe two. You get kind of a lead up and a drop off, but for the rest of the year, it's very pleasant.
It is, and actually, my buddy that came on that does insurance also from Louisiana. I mean, he just loves it up here because it's just miserable down there in the summer. So
humidity, oh goodness.
Yeah, so we have 3 months where it's stay inside more. So their summer, it's a long time to be staying inside and stuff. So. It's the good comes with the bad, and it's pick or choose. But yeah, I don't like the dry skin, the dry air. But that's why we have indoor events, and that's kind of what we're doing. So I'll be going to a basketball tournament tomorrow.
Oh, awesome.
Yes. So I'll be in Waupun, cheering on the Beavers, and hopefully that goes well.
Fingers crossed. Go Beavers, of course. And honestly, that ties into something that's very important about what we talk about when it comes to yourself and the entire team there at Heiar Insurance, and that is that locality of you guys. You guys are your local, advisors when it comes to retirement, Medicare, Social Security, all of that. And that means they will potentially see you at an event like, an indoor basketball tournament in Waupun, or they might see you at a chamber event that's happening here in town. They might even just casually catch you out at, a local restaurant or grocery store.
Yeah, and that's one thing I noticed when I kind of started taking over for my mom was, just how we have to be out, in the community. We have to be supporting, all these different organizations and nonprofits. And we have to, there's a lot of people that work for Fall Festival, right? It doesn't just happen. There's a lot of work that goes into all these different events and programs. And, if some people just wake up one day and say, I'm not doing it, that event doesn't go on.
Right.
So supporting the community is just one of our favorite things. And, I didn't have a lot of these, different events growing up. So to keep these going and keep these strong, it's so, but people don't see the actual work that is put into these events. And, from getting the porta potties. We take everything for granted. So it's just really cool to help support the community. And, we try to do our best, being there. We're very busy with sports, but yes, if we can, be out there, or if people, want us to help out with events and stuff, absolutely. And, because the community supports our business and we try to support the community. So it's a really cool thing, and it's rewarding on many levels.
Yeah, super symbiotic relationship that you have there.
Yep.
What I love is people don't have to see you out in public and be like, well, I can't talk to him unless it's an insurance question, or I can't talk to him unless it's about Medicare or Social Security. They can say, oh, there's Matt Heiar. I can just say hi.
Yep.
You're very approachable. And what's great is, like, I've had times where I've seen you out about, or I've seen you at, like, the corn roast is one of my favorites because you're always there helping with the beer. And inevitably, somebody will be like, Matt Heiar? And I'll be like, yeah, he comes on the show all the time. We talk about insurance, whatever. Oh, I didn't know that's what he did.
Yeah.
Really? You didn't? Well, you need to go talk to Matt. But it's a nice conversation starter, even that you don't have to be a part of.
Oh, absolutely. And so many people come up to me and they're like, I don't want to talk shop. A lot of my clients, but absolutely. If you have a question, and it's the weekend and you'll forget, Monday to call, it's like, absolutely, just ask it. It's 20 seconds and it's not going to take time or anything like that. And that's also rewarding,
Right.
like you don't have to fear coming up to me, like absolutely ask a question, or because a lot of what we do is the game of telephone. Well, I was told this,
Right.
or I have to do this. And it's like, you don't, but the person that told you, yes, they did. So it's a lot of situational. And anytime you deal with the government, because they don't teach us this. So many people come in and they're like, I don't know anything about retirement or Social Security or Medicare. And it's like, well, how many times have you retired or went on Social Security or Medicare?
Right.
But all they talk about is, you're going to get penalized, or you could owe a lot of money at taxes, and all these different situations where, yes, you could potentially, but that's why you go to someone that does it for a living,
Right.
and we just take it one step at a time.
And a lot of times when changes happen, and changes will happen, the way they're conveyed is not in a way that's very easy to digest for the average person. I was just watched something earlier with my wife where apparently there's some big changes to the tax code this year, and they had a thing on like CBS this morning or whatever, and they relegated it to a 2.5 minute long segment where they just went, here's the changes, here's the new numbers, go. And it's like, well, that's kind of how they do it with a lot of things. It's just here's the information, here's what's changed, and now it's up to you to know how it works.
I know. I really feel bad for accountants because,
Right.
like our stuff is evolving and changing and stuff. But taxes scare me. And I get a lot of calls on taxes, and I am not an accountant. I legally cannot give any tax advice.
Right.
We have programs to give like tax strategies, and stuff. But, it's ever evolving. So like in retirement, you want your accountant on board. We want to make sure they know everything. I can help you fill out the forms to take taxes out of your Social Security. But let's ask your accountant, hey, what should we take out for this? Because they know your financial picture.
Right.
They know if you're getting a pension or if you have a part-time job. And they know if your spouse does. There's a lot of situations because I've had people come back and they're like, yeah, my accountant said I don't have to take taxes out. Perfect. So we want to have that money throughout the year, but we also don't want, we got to find that balance where we don't have to owe a lot of money at tax time. Because taxes scare me too.
Right.
And just ever evolving. So I know that the beautiful bill or whatever they call it, there's a lot of implications with taxes and stuff like that. But I take everything that the government passes with a grain of salt.
Maybe 2 grains just to be on the safe side.
Well, no taxes on Social Security. Well, there's always an asterisk.
Right.
And same with the overtime and the tips. So that's where we want our accountant on board. They've been reading this, they've been doing their training on it, so they understand how it's going to work and how it's going to implement it into your situation. Because everyone's situation is different. So Uncle Sam's going to get his money, right? Regardless, we can try all these tricks of the trade, but at the same time, he's going to get his money. But we want to find that balance, and that's where your accountant in retirement is huge, having them on board with every decision we make, especially for a lot of our finance clients.
Right. And if there's one thing we've learned, I think, from not just the government, but from things like insurance companies and, you get all these ones out there that send all the advertising to you, they find ways to take a very complicated thing and boil it down into 1 or 2 sentences that seemingly tell you everything you need to know.
Absolutely.
It makes it sound really, really good.
Oh yeah, I mean, just a few years back, the government's like, "Hey, we're covering, all vaccines," and I was like so pumped. I was
Right.
like, "Yes,"
Hooray.
because I used to have to fill out these forms and submit it to the insurance company, and then it'd run through their drug plan, and it was just a pain in the butt, because it's a paper trail. Like,
Right.
did they receive it? Did they not? Did we get correspondence saying they did? So then all of a sudden that comes out, and I'm all pumped up, and then people are coming back to us with these denial letters from Medicare. They're like, "Well, yeah, I went and got my shingle shot at the doctor's office, and Medicare denied the office visit." So the rule is, if you get that specific vaccine at the pharmacy,
Right.
it'll be covered through your drug plan. So they call that a Medicare Part D vaccine. And they just had to make it really confusing. So there's two different vaccine classes now. There's a Medicare Part B vaccine, B as in boy, which means you can get it at the doctor's office.
Right.
Which was the COVID, pneumococcal, which is the pneumonia,
Right.
and the flu. So that can be done at the doctor's office.
Right.
But the other ones, the shingles shot, the tetanus shot, those are at the pharmacy.
Which, of course, that's going to be super confusing because if I'm sitting in the doctor's office and the doctor says, "Hey, looks like you need a tetanus shot. You want us to go ahead and give you that?" You're just going to be like, "Yeah, my doctor said so. Sure."
I know. And that's why my advice to a lot of people is like, just get it at the pharmacy, right? Because they're not charging an office visit.
Right.
Right. So we don't have to worry about Medicare, and they will bill who has to get billed. So like if you want peace of mind, I would go to the pharmacy. But that's just a small example of like crazy little things that like they're like, yeah, this is what's going to happen, and and even as an agent, I'm
Right.
like, this is awesome. But then there's the fine print.
Always a little bit of fine print. And if you need somebody to help you navigate that fine print, the team over there at Heiar Insurance can definitely help you with that. You can give them a call if you want. 920-887-0580 is the number. Open there Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. till noon, and then 1 till 5. Open today, even in the extreme cold. You guys staying warm over there?
Yes, the heater is working, but we are open for shop.
All right, there you go. Now, if you have a question you want to ask Matt now and you want to get answered, we're more than happy to take your call here on the show. You can give us a call at 920-885-4446. You can also call us or text us at our talk text line, 920-887-9595. And we've got Jeff up in studio. My button's not working. Jeff was up in studio.
He must be grabbing a pen.
He's probably getting a pen right now. But he can definitely go ahead and send those calls or texts on down to us if you have one, and we're more than happy to go ahead and pass those on to Matt and get them answered for you if we can on air. Obviously, we spent a lot of time recently talking about things because we were in that wild Medicare and open enrollment time frame for the Affordable Care Act and stuff. We've now kind of moved on to that. And now I know a lot of people who the year rolled over and they're looking at this year and they're saying, this is the year I got to get ducks in a row and get everything prepared because next year I want to not be punching a clock. 2027 is the year where I'm going to be on the lake every day fishing, or I'm going to be on the golf course every day, knocking in eagles, or more than likely.
That sounds amazing.
Bogeys.
Double bogeys.
Right. Hey, we don't judge much. But, as they're thinking about that now, there's maybe some things that people are thinking they want to get done. Like I know when my parents were getting ready to retire, the first thing my dad said was, I want to retire at the end of the year, so I'm going to make sure that we have everything ducks in a row so that at the end of the year I can just pay off the house and be done with it. And I can pay off the car and be done with it. And I want to make all these things go away so that I know precisely how much money I have coming in every month. And he was very stead-focused on that. And no matter how much I told him, maybe that's not the right thing to do. Your kids never know what they're talking about generally, but
Absolutely not. And that's exactly the pre-retirement meetings are the most valuable, right? Because we build a relationship, we build a rapport, find out your concerns, your needs, your wants, and yeah, there are things that are stymied quick, where it's like, why would you pay your house off when it's at 3%? Right. You're paying $700 a month for a mortgage. You can't even get a one-bedroom apartment for that.
Right.
You're in a good situation. As long as it's part of your income plan, we can work with that. And that's like, oh, okay. But seeing is believing, right? So seeing it on paper, seeing charts and graphs, that kind of show this is where the money's going to come from. This is how we're going to not run out of money. And it just gives people peace of mind.
Right.
Or we have debt, like how are we attacking this? What's our plan for actually retiring in 2 years?
Right.
So that's the pre-retirement meetings are great. Unfortunately, yes, there are a lot of times where it's like, yes, I'm a widowed spouse now. I have to retire, or I have to keep working. And there's so many scenarios that are out there. But yeah, there's no set number like this is what you need to retire,
right,
because everyone's lifestyle is different. So that's why we create a customized, comprehensive plan just for you, and we teach you how to retire. And that's basically the thing. We just preach education, and we're not going to try to talk above your head and start going into all these different buzzwords. We want you to know why we're doing what we're doing and
right,
what the reason we're doing it for. And it's really easy to say that, but that's it. We want you to understand, because there are people, I call them the Wade Bates now, just take care of it, and mm-hmm, it's like, that's good and all and stuff, that you have the trust in us, but at the same time, we want to make sure that you're on board with this and you understand, so you don't come back 6 months later and be like, well, why did I do this again? And asking questions is huge.
Right.
So that's why, and that goes right along with our Medicare too. We want you to understand, why did you pick this? You told us your concerns, your needs. Can I see my doctor? Can I travel? Can I do this? And it's like, we picked the plan based on your budget that made the most sense.
Right.
So that's really all it is. And actually, we're in another enrollment period. Forgot.
Yeah.
We're in the open.
Open enrollment period.
Yes.
Which goes from when to when again?
January 1st to March 31st. So if you do have a Medicare Advantage plan right now and you are not satisfied, you can jump to another Medicare Advantage plan. So if I signed you up today, it would start February 1st. If I meet you in a couple weeks and sign you up in February, it would start March 1st. So we still have the ability to review your Advantage plans, because a lot of people are starting their new Advantage plan, what they signed up with, because they called the number and they were told this, and that's not always the case. And
Hey, it came with a gym membership, so
it's got a gym membership, exactly. And that's why, can you see your doctor? And that's why some people, they might not doctor yet, right? I don't have an appointment in January, so I've never used it.
Right.
Well, maybe just going to your provider and saying, hey, here's my new card, just making sure that, like, oh yes, yeah, we accept this, you're good. Because if you find out you don't have an appointment till, April or May, and they're like, well, we don't accept this.
Right.
Well, that's a hard reality, that we have to face. And now we are stuck. Right. Now it's like, okay, what do we do? And there is a few tricks of the trade that we can work around, but it makes it much more difficult for us.
Right.
So we don't want you to have to try to switch doctors for this year and then wait till the enrollment period in the fall for a January 1st start date, and we can't see our normal doctor till next year, because it's hard to get into doctors, and it's hard to find new doctors that are accepting new patients. So that's why you still have time. If you are on a Medicare Advantage plan, they are 1-year contracts. They have 0 health questions. If you're not satisfied, you can give us a call at 920-887-0580. Only until March 31st.
So definitely another window there that is closing then if you don't like the plan you're on. I guess I hadn't thought about the possibility of reaching out to your doctor's office and saying, hey, I come in there and see Dr. So-and-so. Here's my new information. We're still good, right?
Yep, and that's huge, And then a lot of times when people want to review their Advantage plan, I ask them to bring their annual stuff in, because every fall you get a book of changes,
right?
And it says, hey, this is what you paid in 2025. This is what it's going to be in 26. I ask them to bring that in if they still have it. Not everyone saves everything, but if they have that, it's really nice to compare and contrast to other plans, right? And what are your concerns? And usually the only time we switch a lot of people during this time would be because, yes, we did try to get it for a dental plan,
right?
Or something like that. Now, the people with Medicare supplements, those are completely different. Those do not have an enrollment period. So if you came in June and you're like, yeah, it's getting expensive, but I don't want an Advantage plan, I want to go to another supplement. So we just have to fill out an application. We have to answer health questions. We could lie on those health questions,
right,
but you sign a HIPAA form that releases your Medicare records. So the issuing company is going to see it.
Right.
Then they will call you, do a phone interview. Usually takes about 5 to 10 minutes, and it's yes or no. So if they say absolutely not, then guess what? We still have our supplement.
Right.
If they say, yep, you're good to go, then we potentially could switch. That doesn't mean you have to switch.
Right.
So you still have that option. We're not canceling plans before, we have to find out what the underwriters say. And I get in arguments with underwriters, but we'll find the most amazing things where people get denied and they're like, why? I don't understand. And so they don't tell us because of HIPAA reasons. You can call the company and you can request why you got denied.
Right.
And there's people that have got a letter back that said, well, because of your congestive heart failure. They're like, I don't have heart failure. And it's like, what? And then they call their doctor.
Right.
And their doctor's like, I have no idea why this is in there. Or they're finding things out that were in their books that were in their charts that weren't even there.
That would kind of scare me a little bit.
Yes. And so, but there is ways we can get around that where the doctor's like, well, I'll take that out, and stuff. And then there's addendums you can sign that say yes, the doctor, they do not have this, I don't know how this got put on, or it could have been the wording, possible heart failure or something along that. But yeah, so there is situations, but basically the underwriters they get scared about COPD, inhalers. So there's certain medications that can, we have to have clear periods basically of cancer-free, heart attack, stroke, stents being put in, pacemakers, within 2 to 3 years.
Right.
So I've had a gentleman that had 2 pacemakers and he got approved for a supplement. So it doesn't mean you can't,
Right.
It just has to be that the window has to be right. Blood thinners is another one. That is another one that the companies kind of stay away from, where it's what we call automatic denial.
Right.
So there is possibilities to get into another supplements, and all supplements are designed the same. If Medicare approves your hip replacement, every supplement has to approve it also.
Right.
If you go get plastic surgery, Medicare will deny it, and every supplement will deny it. So that's why they follow Medicare. And the cool part is you could say, hey, doc, does Medicare cover that? And if the doctor's like, well, yeah, of course, then let's do it. So very user-friendly, and we don't have to renew it every year like the Advantage Plan. But those are your 2 options. You can do the Advantage Plan or supplement.
Right.
There isn't a right answer. Just because your spouse picked this doesn't mean you have to pick that.
Right.
And the main thing it all comes down to, especially when we do our income planning, affordability. Because if you think about it, a household right now with 2 people, they have to, Medicare is $202.90.
Right. A
So
person.
Yep. So we're at $405.80 already just to be on Medicare.
Right.
So, okay, well, we didn't budget for that. We only had $300, budgeted, because that's all it cost me on my group insurance for both of us.
Right.
Well, different now, right? And we're on a fixed income now. So, that's the last thing we want you to have going into retirement, going in on a fixed income is, eating TV dinners just to have our health insurance.
Right.
So if it makes more sense to do the Advantage Plan because it's no additional cost, then we do it. Was that right? Was that wrong? No. It's who should say that.
Right.
Because I used to tell people all the time, hey, talk to your friends, talk to your family members, ask them what they did, what they like about it. And I stopped because people come in, they're like, I'm more confused. They said I should do this and they said I should do this. And I trust them both. And they're the completely different answers.
Right.
And it's, can you see your doctors? Can you travel? Whatever your aspirations are for this plan, as long as you're not talking about a gym membership or dental or,
Right.
over-the-counter items, then that's where we want to, hone in on those, certain needs. Like if you have specialists that are very important to you, let's make sure your specialists take this.
Right.
So there isn't a right answer. And it's really frustrating because when you turn 64, the mail comes, the emails come, the phone calls come, and everyone's saying, you're missing out, change the Medicare, don't screw this up, you'll get penalized. And it's a nerve-wracking thing. I mean, I have clients that are losing sleep prior to signing up, and that's why going with the local advocacy, like if someone, you're going to use this insurance. It's not if, it's a matter of when. And you're going to get a bill, or you're going to get a letter, or you're going to get a phone call. And it's like you want an advocate to call and be like, is this real?
Right.
Does this make sense? Or what do I do now? And that's where we can bring you value of, getting you signed up. We can speak on your behalf. so we can call the company, be like, what is this? What are they talking about? Or is this a new program? And then we can call you back and say, yes, this is legit. You can respond, and this might be a benefit to you, or you don't have to. And you want someone that can do it. Let us wait on hold. Let us call the insurance companies.
Right.
So that's the value we can bring. But the biggest thing when it comes to retirement, Medicare, Social Security, you have to call. We talk about it a lot.
Right.
And it's just like, same with Rob, who does our estate planning. Do you have an estate plan? No, I know we don't. It's like, that's all right. That's
Every
all
time
right.
he's on the show with me, I get a little bit sadder that I haven't sat down and talked to them yet.
Right. But we talk about it all the time, and we talk about all this stuff. And Medicare does not get talked about.
Right.
But then all of a sudden we get closer and closer, people start actually listening to these commercials because it makes sense to us.
Right.
Like when you see a Medicare commercial, you're like, okay, whatever. Like,
Yeah. It's a long way off.
Means nothing to me, and
Somebody who's 64, it's like, are you 64?
oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I am.
I know. And believe it or not, like next week, well, actually, in 8 days, I will already be signing up my May 1961 babies for Medicare.
It's insane.
Yes. So time travels really fast. And that's why I know it's like, well, I'm not turning until June or July. It's like we need to know 90 days prior because we've had some issues right now with Social Security taking time, so many people have this misconception of like, well, I don't turn till May 20th. So I came in May 1st, like I should be good. It's like, no, we needed to start May 1st.
Right.
You start Medicare on the first day of the month you turn 65. If you are born on the 1st, if you're born on May 1st, you're starting Medicare April 1st. I know you're not 65 in April at all. So there is little things like that where it really makes it hard for us. And it gets done, right? Everything gets worked out. It's just if you want peace of mind and me not answering it like a politician, well, technically you are covered because we did send the app in on this date.
Right.
But you're not getting any correspondence, that's not good peace of mind. If you want your card, you're ready to go, signed up, your member ID, your policy paid for, prior to starting, that's when we need to see you 90 days prior.
And I mean, again, that's something where people don't really think about it because we hear hard, fast numbers. Oh, you retire at this age generally. That's when you get your full benefits, whatever. Medicare kicks in at 65, and people just, oh, okay, and that's just the thought in our head. But a little pre-thought, a little foreplanning is never a bad idea, and that gives you time. If hey, I do have these medications I take on the regular. I need to make sure I have that list on hand when I go in and write all this down and plan all this out. It's just going to make the transition simpler so that on your 65th birthday, you're not freaking out about your insurance.
Yes. And I have a lot of people that call me 90 days prior. They listened and they're like, hey, I need to sign up for Medicare. And I'm like, are you on Social Security? And they're like, well, yeah. I'm like, well, you should have got your Medicare card. They're like, no, I didn't. And I'm like, well, I know you're getting a lot of mail. It gets thrown away a lot.
Oh.
So you will get an envelope from the Health and Human Services. So I know you're getting a lot of junk mail, but you have to open it. Right, but this envelope is from the Health and Human Services. The government signs you up for Medicare automatically because they assume you're retired if you're collecting Social Security benefits prior to 65.
Right.
So that actually makes my job a lot easier because the government stuff's done.
Right.
Now we get to look at plans and give you literature, and you can do some research actually.
There you go. Something easy.
Yeah, so it's all situational, and that's why we have to make sure. Now, if you want to come in and sign up for Social Security, that's 4 months prior. All these dates, yes.
Right.
So the soonest, the misconception I get a lot is people say 6 months, and you can't sign up 6 months prior.
Right.
The applications can be held for 6 months, but we can only sign you up 4 months prior for Social Security. So these are just all things we have to take into account, and kind of plan for. So that's why some people, they'll come in 8, 9, 10 months earlier and be like, all right, here's our next steps. Here's our next appointment.
Right.
This is what we're going to do. I don't even want to show you plans because it could be different. There could be changes, but this is the main thing, and it's government stuff first.
Right.
So, and that you still do not even have to go with us, right? If you don't like the plans we're showing you, or you don't like working with us, or something along those lines, let's still get the government stuff done, right? Let's get you signed up for Medicare, or if we even have to, you might be working. You don't have to. So it's all situational, and that's why the game of telephone and the misconceptions, and that's why they don't educate us on this.
Right.
You know, so many people, I call them the do-it-yourselfers. They start doing their research. And there's some websites you can click on that all of a sudden they will find you.
Right.
You know, and I mean, I'm even having that with the marketplace insurance. I've had people sign up for marketplace insurance they thought was marketplace insurance. It wasn't insurance.
Oh.
Yes, it was one of those indemnity plans where you sleep over at the hospital, we'll give you $500. Well, the rest of the bill is on you.
Right.
You know, so that's not major medical. And that is a big thing. We want to know that. And it was expensive. It was like $1,000 a month for them too. And they couldn't do anything about it. And they're outside of the enrollment period.
Right.
So there's certain things like we want you to know. So if like just talking to someone from out of state, you know, they're like, yeah, this is good. This is the best plan ever. It's like, do your research. You know, because I've had people come in like, is this good and stuff? I'm like, yeah, that's marketplace. You're good. You're good to go. Like, do nothing.
Right.
Right? If you want to review it in the fall, just come back in the fall. You know, but giving yourself the peace of mind, knowing you're covered, because medical bills can really add up quick.
Right.
So it's tough. And that's why if you just give us a call at 920-887-0580, we can walk you through the steps and the future. But yeah, we don't like talking about plans. I mean, I can if you want, but you know, the prices could be different. You know, the plans could be different. You know, so that's why we just, you know, kind of let's get the government stuff done. I'll explain how the plans work, but actually showing plans, that's the last step.
Right.
I can control that. I can sign you up the day before for the next day. I actually signed up like 3 people before this for a February 1st start date. So we have time on that. I'm not worried. It's just the government stuff we have to wait for.
Right. I want to make a point of mentioning here and pointing out that in this entire conversation we've had, and in every conversation I've had with you thus far, at no point in time have I heard the little disclaimer voice come on and say, you know, this might not be typical results for everybody, or, you know, results may vary, or side effects may include. Like, it's not something you get with a local advisor. But I think about the mailings and stuff that get sent out, and I actually saw one, actually, this was a couple months ago. I'm surprised I didn't bring it up to you, but somebody had received it. It said, it was basically a solicitation for an insurance, and it was like, you know, if this is your typical medical bill, this is what it would look like with us. And it showed like a side by side. And one was like, you know, the doctor visit and the x-rays and this and that. And it showed the price of each one. And then at the bottom, it's circled in red. It's like, this is your, you know, balance. And then it's, here's what it is with us. And at the bottom, it's circled in red, or actually in green, I think, with a little check mark that said, no cost to you. And then there was another thing underneath that said, you could even get cash back. And I thought, boy, if I was just reading that without, you know, any knowledge, I'd think, well, that's a no-brainer.
Yes.
Bills at zero and I get cash back?
And I wish it's so misleading, you know, because that's a fear a lot of people have, you know. And like even with the marketplace insurance, I mean, these plans are so catastrophic, you know, and I think that's just wrong. Like, you know, because people are not going to the doctor.
Right.
You have a pain in your side, you're like, you know, I don't want to get that bill. And that's not right. You know, so that's how insurance, like health insurance in general, has just like totally 180'd. Because I hear a lot of clients, you know, like, we never used to get a bill. You know, our deductible is $500. And I understand inflation, things go up, but the rate that things have happened, I mean, where your max out of pocket this year is $10,600 per person.
Right.
So if you have a car accident with you're both in the vehicle, that could be a $21,000, you know, accident. Like that is a huge portion of your salary, and that's where they gotta do something rather than just giving the insurance companies the money to help out.
Right.
You know, it's like, okay, it's affordable, right? It's lower cost, but what are we getting for it?
Right.
I don't mind the government giving money to these insurance companies if I have a $2,000 deductible.
Right.
You know, with a $4,000 max out of pocket. But these numbers are astronomical. And it's just gradually been doing this for years. So I don't have an answer, because then are we shorting just the insurance companies? What about the facilities that are charging these amounts? And what about the pharmaceutical companies that are charging these costs? There isn't like a right answer. I think you have to go after them all. I mean, if you really want to do it, but There isn't a fix like, let's pass a bill, which we know Congress can't do,
Right.
and this will fix it. There is not that answer that would. I mean, I wish there was, but it's greed. I mean, the money, that all these people are making, and stuff. It's the consumer paying for it.
Right.
Right. So like we're paying for our premiums, which went up. We're paying more for our insurance, and the government's giving the insurance companies more money, but that's still our money.
Right.
It's our tax dollars.
And somehow coverages aren't as much.
Yes, and that's why. But like once $100,000 surgeries, they're common nowadays.
Right.
Right. So I just don't know where exactly we should do it, but that's why with these plans we're picking it what's best for you. And we take it 1 year at a time. Okay, how are we doing? Do we like the plan? Do we switch? Do we not? Is our doctor still in network? These are the things that we're asking, not so much, talking about what you hear on TV.
Right.
Like these buzzwords, and it's not like the sale ends tomorrow. These are 1 year contracts.
Right.
What's best for you?
You don't need to worry about that fear of missing out. And, 1 year contracts, like you talked about, is kind of an important thing to keep in mind. But I know people, I'll use my wife as a great example. My wife, if you give her the option of the least expensive, least coverage, but everybody is perfectly healthy and fine, or here's the most expensive, most coverage, and it's really meant for people who are doctoring all the time, she'll still want that one, just on the off chance that something happens throughout that year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was talking to someone this morning, and I was like, yep, you are all signed up and stuff. And they're like, I'm nervous. Like, and the insurance that they signed up for is much less out of pocket.
Right.
You can go in and out of network, so they had way more perks, but they still were nervous about leaving this insurance.
Right.
So we have a comfort, right?
Right. We don't like change.
We're creatures of habit. I do not like change either. But when we're having change for the better, it's a big deal. But I could talk and say everything, to her to try to comfort her, saying like, oh, yes, no, look at this, and just doing the math. And I gave her visuals. But still, it's change, and we just like our comfort and stuff. But she called. She called and said, I got all these bills. It's outrageous. This is the situation I'm in. And we lessened them by switching plans. But still, for her to say that, like, I don't know, I'm still nervous about it. And I get it. I totally get it. But seeing is believing, right? And it's not the end of the world. Like insurance, like just because we signed you up or something, if you're like, I don't really like that. All right, let's try this. Right. Nothing is set in stone.
Right.
But that's how these marketing tactics are treating people. They're just saying, don't mess this up. You better pick right.
Right.
Or your neighbor, they kind of fear monger you almost. And it's like, no, if you don't like it, let's look at something else. If you like it, stick with what you got.
Right. And that's kind of the hard part for, I think, a lot of people is that fear mongering that you talk about. Because you mentioned, if you don't do it now, you're going to miss out. Things are changing. Lock it in now. Bigger bills are coming your way, costs are skyrocketing, and we have no clue.
No, I mean, I changed my homeowners. I've never used my homeowners, and I was nervous.
I'm almost sure that the deductible on my homeowner's insurance is lower than most of the medical deductibles we talk about.
Oh, absolutely. And those bills could be very expensive.
Yeah, for full loss of my home, that's $200,000+, and just. Yeah,
it's just we've evolved into a time where things change. Like back in the day was chips commercials, right?
Right.
Mountain Dew commercials. Now it's a lot of like pharmaceutical commercials and just all these different it's changed.
Makes me wonder what Super Bowl commercials are going to be like this year.
Oh boy, yeah, and I haven't been impressed with those the last few years either.
Me neither. Nowadays we see them 2 weeks in advance, or they half leak commercials ahead of time. It's unfortunate the way that's gone. What's not unfortunate though is the fact that you guys are located so perfectly right here in Beaver Dam. I want to ask a little bit about your guys' service area, because I know sometimes with if you're a local realtor, if you're a local HVAC professional, whatever, you might only have a certain distance you're willing to work with people, whatever. If you've got people that live up in northern Wisconsin, or maybe they're snowbirds and spend most of their time in Arizona in the winter and they come back here in the summer, these people can still come in and work with you, can still talk with you guys, still work with Heiar Insurance?
Absolutely. So like, it's so funny. Like a lot of our oldest clients, you know, call them the OGs. My mom, when she first started, we didn't have an office.
Right.
So she took our hockey van, turned it into a work van, and just went all around the state. So we have clients, you know, down in Janesville, down in up north, you know, Hurley, and some people move up north.
Right.
And they're like, "Can we still work with you?" It's like, absolutely. You know, a lot of snowbirds. They're like, "Hey, you know, we leave in September to go to Arizona. We're going to miss the enrollment period." It's like, "Well, call me. We can Zoom. We can talk about it. I mean, we can still show you visuals and send you emails, you know, and make sure. So we could still be your advocate, you know." So absolutely, with the one good thing COVID brought was the advancement in a lot of digital applications and the technology of Zoom meetings, you know. And so, yes, I mean, I just send you an email to a link for a Zoom, and all of a sudden, boom, we're face to face virtually, but we can go over the plans. We can, you know, talk to each other, still kind of face to face. Right. And it's really helped out in our region of work, basically. So yeah, no, it doesn't matter. I have a lot of people, mostly referrals, because we're not advertising in Hurley. But they're like, "Yeah, my sister needs insurance and she just lost her job, you know." And it's like, "Well, have her give me a call." You know, and some people do it over the phone. Some people just want to, you know, talk about it, you know, and just have questions, or we do Zooms or team meetings. But yeah, absolutely. There's no threshold to Dodge County. That's it.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of, yes, obviously Dodge County, Columbia County, Green Lake, Jefferson, a lot of people, those are the people that are actually coming to the office. And some people like that. That just brings value. You know, they want a brick and mortar place, and they want to go back and be like, "Hey, what is this?" And sit down and talk about it. And, you know, that's the value we can bring you by just, you know, and also being an independent agent. We have multiple companies, you know, and we have favorites, but it's like, why? You know, and then we explain, and then it just makes sense. But having that big screen in the conference room is huge.
Right.
Because it's like I can talk and talk and talk, just like on the radio. It's like, yeah, okay. You know, everyone has, you know, all these different companies, if there's independent agents out there, but seeing is believing. So putting it up, going right on the government website, showing every plan, and this is why we like this, because this has less out of pocket, or you can actually travel with this one. You know, so we want you to understand why you picked the plan, and that is the biggest thing that my mom instilled to me was, you know, making people understand it. You know, we are educators, and we have to make sure they know what they're getting, because you don't want to be that person that just, "Yep, trust me," you know, and because it happens. I have clients like, "Well, they said I have to sign up, or else I won't have insurance." No, you don't. You have time, you know. So think about it before and ask for literature. You know, they might have a great plan that they're offering them, but there's the deal ends tomorrow.
Right.
You go across the street and get the same policy from someone else, and it's going to be the same benefits. Right. So we're just advocates for these, you know, providers that we contract with, you know, to show you what we have.
I guess I appreciate the fact that you are, you always say you're a visual person, and you love the visuals. I think the vast majority of people are visual people, and I'm sure that helps a lot. And when it comes to signing up for things, a lot of stuff now, it's digital signups, you know? So it's not like before we had to fill out a physical form, let's put a stamp on it, throw it in the mail. You know,
yeah,
the nursery of you know, the postal service.
Yeah, a lot of them are digital signups or DocuSigns.
Right.
So we'll send you a DocuSign, and people are like, "I've never done that," and I'm like, we'll send you the DocuSign, and then I said, just come into the office, you know, I'll walk you through it. But it's, yeah, and then people are like, "Well, yeah, I didn't even have to. It was pretty easy." But yeah, this is just the transition the world is going to. Still having problems with our Social Security accounts.
Yeah, let's talk about that briefly as we get ready to wrap up the show here. So login.gov, ssa.gov uses ID.me or login.gov for your logins. It's supposed to be like a single sign-on for all the government stuff.
Yes, but the kicker right now is like, so the pictures, the selfies, those are working.
Oh, good.
Right, so we're getting through that pretty quickly. But then the second to last step is like, we just need to verify your phone number. I type in their cell phone number. It says, "We can't verify your phone number with the number you just gave us." And I'm like, "Do you have a landline?" And they're like, "Well, I got rid of it a year ago." I was like, "Watch this." I type in that number. It works. And it's
and
like,
of course,
but no one has it.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating. So like honestly, if you are going to get rid of your landline, like you still have one, sign up for this account quick. Right? Because it's just a computer just cross-referencing, the IRS, your utility bills and stuff. And yes, it probably was your landline, growing up. So that's just one that they have. It says we can use work numbers and stuff, but I haven't really had success with that. But that is the main thing. If you are going to get rid of your landline, sign up for one of these accounts quick. Because that would bring a lot of value, because that's how we can hit the ground running just in case we have to sign you up. So that's one of the things that we have to do, because even if we want to in-person it and go to the post office, we still need to verify your phone number. Unreal.
Right.
So I know that's going to start getting better, but I had a client call Social Security, and Social Security says that's a third party. You got to call them. So they're no help to you.
Right.
So that's where we just want to make sure that, that's not one of the things where you come in and you had to retire right away and we have to get Medicare going right away and we're stuck.
Right.
It's a helpless feeling.
If I can advise anybody out there, I'd say even if you're my age, you're in your late 30s, early 40s like I am, early 40s being my part, by the way, don't hesitate. You go sign up now, get your logins created. By the time we retire, it'll probably have changed. At that point, it'll be a thumb scan and a retina scan and blood sample or something to get in.
Whatever's easier.
Whatever works for them. But and at that point, it'll ask you to verify your blood type, even if you don't know it. But better to get that in. It gives you a little bit of information, which is never a bad thing.
Yes.
If you like looking at numbers and dreaming about what that'll become, there you go.
It's motivating.
But at the same time, it could save you a lot of time and energy as you're going through that final sign-up process later down the road.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, Matt Heiar, I guess I'm going to ask you to stay warm out there.
Yes.
I'm going to say the same thing to everybody listening and watching. Definitely stay warm out there. We definitely want to make sure that nobody does anything dumb that's going to result in them having to use those newfound governmental insurances, and that they can enjoy their retirement by staying warm. If you, unless you're somebody who likes it cold, in which case enjoy your cold retirement, I guess. But other than that, again, thanks for coming on. We look forward to talking to you again next Friday.
Yes, thank you.
And there's only one thing left to say.
Yes, when you want to retire,
call Heiar. This has been a paid program. The advice and opinions expressed in the program are solely that of Heiar Insurance, not necessarily WBEV or Good Karma Brands.